3.8 is here, and so is the brand new character, the Dahlia. In this video, I'm taking you over everything you do need to know in order to properly use and build her, including an overview on her kit, her best Lightcones, best Relic sets, and Planar Ornaments, main set and subset recommendations, and some general team building ideas. Her basic attack deals fire damage based off her attack to a designated enemy. Her skill deploys a zone that lasts for 3 turns and decreases by 1 at the start of her turn, then will deal fire damage based off her attack to a designated enemy and their adjacent targets. In that zone, increases all allies' weakness break efficiency by 50%, and toughness reduction taken by enemy targets that are not weakness broken can also be converted to super break damage. So with her zone up, you are able to do super break damage to enemies that are not weakness broken. Her ultimate will first inflict wilt state on every enemy for 4 turns, then will deal fire damage based off her attack to all enemies. It will reduce the defense of enemy targets in wilt by 18% and will apply the weakness of all dance partners to enemy targets. Her talent lets Dahlia regenerate 35 energy upon entering battle and grants dance partner to the unit and the teammate who triggered combat. Anytime there's no dance partner on the field, it will grant dance partner to this unit, which is the Dahlia, and also to the unit with the highest break effect. After a dance partner attacks a weakness broken enemy target, the toughness reduction from this attack is converted to an instance of super break damage at 60%. After an enemy target is attacked by the other dance partner, the Dahlia will launch a follow-up attack, dealing 5 instances of damage, with each instance dealing fire damage based off her attack to a random enemy. After each instance of damage dealt to a weakness broken enemy target, toughness reduction from this damage is converted to an instance of super break damage at 200%, and the effect can only trigger once per turn. If the effect is defeated before it is launched, it will be launched at a random enemy instead. Her technique creates a special dimension for 20 seconds. In that dimension, enemies cannot attack allied targets, and entering combat with it active will immediately allow her to deploy her skill zone and convert the triggering toughness reduction to an instance of super break damage at 60% against enemy targets that are weakness broken. Her A2 will increase your ally's break effect based off the Dahlia's own at equal to 24% of her break effect plus 50%. It will last for a turn, and the effect triggers again lasting 3 turns when she does receive a healing or shield from a teammate, but you cannot repeatedly trigger it. For A4, when using the talent's follow-up attack, you will recover a skill point for allies that can be triggered for every 2 follow-up attacks. And our A6, when an allied target implants a weakness on an enemy target, increases speed by 30% for 2 turns, and if a fire character implants a weakness using an attack, deals 20 fixed amount of fire toughness reduction after the attack for every target with weakness implanted, and also will regenerate energy equal to 10% of maximum energy. The maximum amount of energy regenerated through this effect is capped at 50% of max energy. For Eidolons, her E1 will apply the talent's super break damage multiplier provided to dance partner to everyone, with the dance partner additionally receiving 40%. After dance partner uses an attack, it deals a fixed additional amount of toughness reduction equal to 25% of the enemy target's max toughness, minimum of 10 points up to 300 points, and the effect can only trigger once per enemy target, and the trigger count for each target resets after an enemy target receives a killing blow. Her E2 will decrease every enemy's all-type res by 20% if the Dahlia is on the field, and when an enemy target enters the field, it will immediately inflict the wilt state on them for 3 turns. Her E4 increases the instances of damage dealt from the talent's follow-up attack by 5, and every hit increases the target's damage taken by 12% for 2 turns. Her E6 will increase the dance partner's break effect by 150%, and when using her talent's follow-up attack, it will advance the next action of all dance partners by 20%. For Lightcone options, her best one is going to be her own signature Lightcone, providing the wearer a 60% increase to break effect. When entering combat, you will increase the break damage dealt by the wearer and the teammate who triggered combat by 32%. If there's no teammate who triggered combat, the effect will instead be applied to the person with the highest break effect. Same type of effects cannot be stacked, and when the wearer applies a weakness to the enemy target, it will recover a skill point, and the effect can only trigger once, and resets the trigger count when using ultimate. Very simple Lightcone, 60% break effect is great for Dahlia's damage and also her buffing capabilities, since her break effect buff does actually scale off her own break effect, and she's also increasing the break damage for herself so she can do more damage while also increasing the break damage for the character triggering combat, which is going to be usually your main DPS anyways, since you have to trigger combat for them to get the dance partner usually, assuming they don't already have the highest break effect, so your Boot Hill, your Rappa, Firefly, whoever. So they're also going to get a 32% increase to break damage, which is going to be good for their main source of damage. The skill point recovery can be really good depending on your teams. It also allows you to spam skill more from times where you usually can't, because it gives you some form of SP generation. All in all, providing everything that is beneficial to Dahlia's performance herself when it comes to damage and buffing, and also good for your team as well, mainly your main DPS getting a actual break damage increase, while also provided some utility with the skill point, making it her best in slot. Fugue's signature Lightcone is also really good on her, increasing break effect by 60%. When an enemy target's weakness gets broken, there's a 100% base chance to inflict the charring state on it. The charring state will increase break damage taken by 18%, lasting for 2 turns and stacks up to 2 times. Same thing as I mentioned with her own signature Lightcone, 60% break effect is great for her damage and also her buffing capability. The charring state gives you up to a 36% increase to break damage taken to that enemy specifically, which technically can be better than her signature since it only applies to herself and also giving it to the person triggering combat, while this is going to make it for anyone that attacks that enemy specifically, and the percentage is a little higher. The only downside to this Lightcone is you are required to build a total of 67% effect hit rate, which can make building her a little bit difficult. Otherwise, very strong option to use on her as well. Cypher's signature Lightcone is also really good, increasing the wearer's speed by 18%. After the wearer attacks, is a 120% base chance to inflict Bamboozle on every enemy target, and under that state, enemy targets have their defense decreased by 16% for 2 turns. If the wearer does have equal to or higher than 170 speed, the wearer also will inflict theft on every enemy target with a 120% base chance, and under theft, they have an additional 8% defense decrease for 2 turns. So this Lightcone also lets you build Dahlia a lot faster with a big 18% speed increase, so you can achieve relatively high speeds in battle, and on top of that, gives you up to a 24% decrease to enemy targets defense, which can be really good. Although if you are using this Lightcone, you will also need some effect hit rate as well, not nearly as much as something like Pearls or also something like Fugue's Lightcone mentioned previously. This one only requires about 37%. Another thing to make sure is she also does have defense shred in her kit, so it can stack good, but be sure you don't end up over capping on the team. Since Break has a lot of access to defense ignore via Eidolons, via this Lightcone, the base kit for both Fugue and Dahlia, the Iron Cavalry set itself, so on and so forth. But if this Lightcone is not making you overcap, it is really strong. Speaking of Pearls, it's also a usable option, assuming no one on the team also is using it, because you can't stack it. So it does ensnare an enemy who is not yet ensnared with a 60% base chance, and ensnared will actually defense decrease by 12%, and at S5 it's 100% base chance with a 16% defense shred. Again, you can't have anyone else with this Lightcone, so if you already have it on someone like Fugue, it's not going to work. You can only have it on one person. Otherwise, it is a 16% defense shred, can be good again if you're not overcapping. It's kind of just like a worse Cypher Lightcone. Less defense shred, more effect rate required for it, but if you have no other option, you can use it. If you are running a really fast Dahlia with also something like the Eagle Set, Energy Regen Rope, you can run the Tutorial Mission Lightcone, which increases effect hit rate by 20% and attacking defense reduced enemies regenerates 4 energy. At S5, it's 40% effect hit rate with 8 energy. The Willed State does defense shred, so you're able to get the full effect here. The effect hit rate doesn't really matter if you don't have a Lightcone that needs it. So you are able to get a bunch of energy back here, which paired with the Eagle Set and also maybe even an energy planner such as Vault and Walk. Combining all that can help you create a ultimate spamming Dahlia, who's able to constantly proc the Eagle Set that lets you get more turns, more skill points back, whatever you need it for. So if you have a setup in mind for that and you want to get a ultimate spamming Dahlia, you can use the Tutorial Mission Lightcone. For relic sets, this does depend on what you, the player, wants to do. The most common one, and is what is going to be the best if you are looking for the best damage from the Dahlia, is going to be 4-piece Iron Cavalry, providing 16% break effect for the 2-piece. 4-piece makes break damage dealt ignore 10% of the target's defense if the wearer does have 150% or higher break effect, and if they have 250% or higher break effect, the super break damage dealt to enemy target additionally will ignore 15% of their defense. The Dahlia is built off break effect, a good amount of that as well, since you want to get as much to increase her buffing potential. So the 2-piece providing 16% break effect is really good, and the 4-piece is just a big increase to damage, as one of the best ways to increase break character's damage is going to be defense ignore. So this provides 10% defense ignore for just regular break damage, and even more if it is super break damage, which she does convert to, so it always will be super break damage. So if you are looking for the best damage from your Dahlia, in that case, you would run 4-piece Iron Cavalry. If you want to run a super fast Dahlia where you're kind of lacking on more other stats, mainly less break effect, and just focusing mainly purely on speed, maybe trying to achieve 3 turns within the first MLC cycle, or you just wanted to get as many turns to spam her ultimate, in that case you can run the Eagle Set for the 4-piece. After the wearer uses their ultimate, their action is advanced forward by 25%. Although only use the set if you are actually getting value out of it, it's not really a set that should be just slapped onto her with no goal in mind. As I mentioned, if you want to use it to get 3 turns within the first MLC cycle, then that's going to be really good. action advance her a lot more, especially built with more energy, so you can spam attacks, especially paired with something like the tutorial mission Lightcone. So you can get more energy, more spam, more turns, so on and so forth, maybe even as a skill point generator. A lot of actual applications, but definitely make sure it is something that's benefiting you. It doesn't even have to be an extra turn, it could just be acting before an enemy where if you didn't get that action, it might be bad for your run. Could be something as simple as that, but of course that depends on the player. If you're just using this, it gives you a bit of an action advance and doesn't really let you act before enemies or give you an extra turn, and you don't really need the skill point generation. In that case, you're kind of just losing value running it, and at that point, you're better off just running something like 4-piece Iron Cavalry. For 2-piece, you can either do 2-piece break with 2-piece break or 2-piece break with 2-piece speed, depending on what you want. If you want to reach a higher speed threshold, such as 160.1 or higher, in that case you can run 2-piece speed, so it'd be 2-piece break, which comes from 2-piece Iron Cavalry, comes from 2-piece Watchmaker, and also 2-piece Thief. Combine that with 2-piece Hackerspace, Relieved Ordeal, or Warrior Goddess for 6% speed. If you want to focus fully on speed, you can do 2-piece speed, but that's less recommended. And if you want to run 2-piece break, you can do that as well. For Planar Ornaments, overall the best one is going to be Forge, providing 6% speed and 40% break effect to the wearer when attacking someone with fire weakness. The Dahlia in her ultimate is always going to be able to implant the fire weakness, since she herself will be considered a dance partner, and with her ultimate she's able to implant the weaknesses of dance partners. So you are able to have a permanent effect of this actual ornament, and this is going to be overall the best one you can run. I'm not even going to mention Talia because it's just no point in running that over Forge. You're just getting 4% less break effect and no speed. On other characters that don't implant fire weakness, maybe, but now it's just the fact that she implants it, so there's no point in running Talia over Forge. However, if you're still farming Forge pieces, then you can use Talia if you happen to have a set, but you want to replace that ASAP. You can also use Von Walk for 5% energy regen rate and 40% action forward immediately upon entering battle when having 120 speed or higher. If for whatever reason you need your Dahlia to act before everyone else, or helping you hit even more thresholds, since you can tune some speed and do some whack stuff with it. This is not going to be something super common, especially on the Dahlia, since she's not really going to need that. But if you want to do setups like that, or you just really need her to act before for whatever reason, in that case you can also run Von Walk. For the main stats on the relics, for the body you run HP percent or defense percent for survivability. For the feet you run speed. For the orb you run the same thing as the body for the same reason, HP percent or defense percent. And the link rope you can run either break effect if you want to increase her buff, or energy regen if you want to get more consistent ult charge. Energy regen obviously would be the play if you're trying to do like an eagle spam setup with the tutorial mission Lightcone, and you again just want to spam all, or any case you want to spam all, you would run energy regen. But if you just want further damage and further buffing capabilities, you would run break effect. For the substats, ideally there's just like the general requirements. If you're running 4-piece Iron Cavalry, be sure to hit 250% break effect in battle, so you get the full actual buff. Speed wise, just get as much as you can. Ideally, if you're able to get hyper speed or higher no matter the build, that's going to be great. If you're running a eagle setup, again with energy regen rope, tutorial mission Lightcone, whatever, in that case you would focus even more on speed and just get as much as possible. You want to get even more hyper speed potential in the 170 to 180 range, and of course depending on the speed buffs and such. But in general, let's just assume a 4-piece Iron Cavalry, of course, get the 250% break effect in battle requirement to get the full effect of the relic set. Speed wise, again, as much as possible. You should also account for the actual speed buff in her kit, but even with the speed buff, if you can just build as much as possible, that's going to be better, because more will be better. And then HP percent, defense percent for survivability. More rolls of those won't be completely disregarded, because, you know, the more hits you can take, especially on a team where maybe you might run sustainless, more survivability will always be good on a support. Now for some general team building ideas, I don't have the Dahlia on my account, so pretend Xiaochu here is actually the Dahlia. So she is going to be going on these break teams. You can really run any combination of this. So it's going to be the Dahlia herself, again pretend Xiaochu is the Dahlia, and then the second slot would be your DPS. This depends on who you want to run. Firefly is going to be overall the best, but you can run Boothill, Rappa, even Himiko, or even Hypercarry Linksha, but in my case I'll just use Boothill since he is my one break DPS that I would use. So the Dahlia, Boothill. The third slot would usually always go to Fugue. She is going to be a good partner on the team. She's existing on the team, and the Dahlia is mainly just kicking off Ron May, so Fugue still does stay. Last slot does depend. If you are doing a sustain this run, that could change depending on who you are running. Although for sustain, because you do also want to try to get the full effect of the Dahlia's kit, since it also does need healing / shield refreshes. In that case, the best sustain for these break teams is still either Linksha or especially someone like Gallagher as well. So you can run either of those two, so I'm just going to put Linksha here. So would look something like this. If you're doing sustainless, again, it does depend on the DPS. A lot of times you can really just put Ruan Mei back on the team. So if you're running Firefly, Lingsha, Himiko, whatever as the DPS, you can just put Ruan Mei back on and it would look like this. Lingsha technically would just be able to cheat it since she is a sustain innately. But yeah, for Himiko, Rappa, Firefly, whatever, you could just run this as a sustainless team. You could even run Harmony MC over Fugue if you don't actually have Fugue. So my MC is actually under RMC, but pretend it is Harmony right here. You can actually run Harmony MC over Fugue. Fugue is better, but in that case, you still would just mainly want to run Fugue. For Boot Hill specifically, you can actually run the Dahlia, Fugue, and an Action Advancer. Usually, always will be Sunday. Boot Hill always was able to use an Action Advancer, and it's still no different. So you can run a team like this for Boot Hill. Again, pretend Xiaochu is the Dahlia. So it's basically the combination of Fugue and the Dahlia. Those two will always be on any break team for the best teams. Third slot mainly would go to if you're either doing sustain or sustainless. If you're doing sustainless, Ruan Mei, HMC, Sunday, or Bronya for Boot Hill specifically. And then for the last slot would obviously be the DPS depending on who you're running. That could be Firefly, Boot Hill, Rappa, Himiko, and even Lingsha Hyper Carry. That does wrap up the full guide for the Dahlia. I do hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, drop a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon for future videos like this along with all the types of Star content. Check the description to join the Discord and also check out our Archive channel, and I'll see you later. Peace out.